Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens. This is Jake along with Scott, and we are super excited because we've been playing phone tag, email tag with this lady for a few months to get her on the podcast. And one of the most emerging and trending brands, according to Drinks International, we are joined by Victoria Butler of Uncle Nearest. So Victoria, thank you for joining the Bourbon Lens today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to finally have a conversation with you guys.
Well, it means a lot when you actually reached out to us. That doesn't always happen with people of your stature in a brand, especially such an emerging brand. Reach out to us. That was, humbling on our accord to get that outreach and for you to communicate with Scott. So we're super thankful that you all and yourself have listened to the podcast and wanted to come on and talk a little bit about what you all are doing down there in Tennessee.
Sure. We're excited to do it.
Yeah. So it's an exciting time. As I mentioned earlier, we just saw that Drinks International shared that you all are one of the top 10 trending brands in the world in American whiskey. So what's that mean to you all, you and Fawn and the rest of the leadership team there to be on a list like that so early on in your all's, distillation career and the, experience that you all are bringing to consumers?
We're extremely excited about it. As you mentioned, with us being still new, it is very exciting to be included with brands that have been around a long time. So it just, kind of a nod to where we're headed. And we look forward to continuing bringing premium whiskey to the whiskey family.
No, that's super exciting. And, I should take a step back because, not only are you just a powerhouse in the whiskey world, you had a powerhouse career before this as well. So, for those who don't know you and have not seen all the awards that Uncle Nearest has received over the last few years, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got engaged in this, this whiskey game that you're in now?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked in law enforcement for just a couple of days shy of 31 years. I am proud of the work that I did there. And I think what we did or what I had involvement with all those years contributed towards making our communities safer. I think the work that I did there was valuable. And I think the work that they are continuing in my absence is just as valuable. So I'm proud of the work that I did, made some outstanding friendships, friends that will carry me through the rest of my days. And the law enforcement community is much like the spirits industry. It's a big fraternity or sorority of such. And so I made some really good relationships and ones that I cherish. Now, how I jumped from that to this was a simple yes. Our CEO and founder, Fawn Weaver, reached in to me, and we had a conversation about me joining this awesome team at Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey. And of course, I said yes. I could not pass up the opportunity to be a part of helping to cement my great-great-grandfather's legacy. A legacy that, lay dormant for more than 160 plus years. With the exception of the majority of folks in Lynchburg and maybe a handful of others, no one even knew who Nearest Green was. They had no idea what his contribution was to the spirits industry. And so when Fawn reached into me, asking if I would be interested in being a part of the team, I said yes. And I have no regrets. It's been an incredible ride since 2019.
Time flies when you're having fun, right? Can you believe it's 2023 already?
It does.
No,
it's probably a little bit easier going too, being in the whiskey world than the law enforcement world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In the law enforcement realm, things are really serious. The work that we did with the agency that I was with, it oftentimes meant if a person would be imprisoned or if they would go free, helping to uh, put some closure to families who had suffered a tremendous loss. So it was heavy work, but now, uh, although I'm probably working harder now than I ever have, it's different. This for me is about family. It's about legacy. I'm extremely passionate about it. I get to work alongside people like Fawn Weaver, our awesome CEO and founder, and all the folks on our sales team and our outstanding chief business officer, Catherine Jerkins. And those folks, although they are not related to Nearest Green, you would not know it if you had a conversation with them. They are just as dedicated and passionate and committed to this as I am, especially Fawn Weaver, who kicked us off and launched this brand in 2017 with the sole purpose of, cementing the first known African-American master distiller's name in the country. That was her mission then, and that is our mission now. And so my work now is a little bit different. Although I feel like it's really important that I get it right every time that I go in to blend whiskey. The load is a little bit lighter than it was prior to 2019.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I can imagine that. And it's been really cool because we just met with Nelson Eddy of Jack Daniels, and we talked about the history and the myths of Jack Daniels, and Uncle Nearest and Nearest Green was a big part of that conversation, because without Nearest, there may never have been a Jack Daniels, right? According to all the records that Fawn and team have uncovered over the last several years. So it's really exciting to see that not only are you all getting that promotion from your all stuff and the work that you all have done, but Jack Daniels is signing off on that as well as they go throughout their mission and continuing to, build out their story of who Jack actually was themselves.
Exactly right. The work, the research that Fawn and the team that she initially put together, they did an outstanding job. I have always known about Nearest Green. His granddaughter, Annie Bell Green Eady, is my grandmother. Mm. And so my grandmother ensured that the family knew all about Nearest and what his relationship was with Jack Daniel, and what his statue was in the town of Lynchburg. I've always known that, but Fawn uncovered things that my family didn't know. We did not know. We suspected, but we did not know with certainty that Nearest would, is the first African-American master distiller. We didn't know that Nearest helped perfect what is known as the Lincoln County process, the process of filtering whiskey through sugar maple charcoal. That process separates Tennessee whiskey from any other spirit. And until Fawn did the research, my family did not know that. So I'm extremely grateful for the work that she has done, for the work that she continues to do in regards to Nearest Green and my family. So it's been eye-opening, to say the least, learning more about my lineage. And still, even now, I get emotional about it, to think that one innovation in my great-great-grandfather's hand changed the course of Tennessee whiskey. I am extremely proud of that. And I'm grateful that Fawn saw fit to unearth those things that we did not know.
Yeah. And I think, if you didn't get emotional about that, there would be something a little off, right? Because it's so amazing that this spirit that has been dominated by one image, for the longest time in a marketing perspective. And, that's the old white man grabbing a drink. That's not who the whiskey is made for. That's not who's been producing the whiskey or making the whiskey. Over the decades and centuries that whiskey has been made. And I think just that story is incredible because it gives the opportunity for people of color to have the opportunity to grasp something that was there and that they were a part of, this from the beginning, America's spirit. And I think that's really cool. And seeing that Nearest's family was part of Jack's life up until, Jack would meet his demise, unfortunately. It's amazing to see that at the right hand of Jack Daniels was part of Nearest's family and your family lineage. And that gets me choked up because it's cool just to see the ripple effects, the people who go unnoticed, but once they're noticed, like they do have these iconic presence in our life. And Nearest has become that icon that he should have been known for the whole time.
I agree. And it is our job, our meaning the team at Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey. It is our job, our mission, our desire to now ensure that moving forward, that everyone knows, whether you drink whiskey or not, this is history. And we want to ensure that people know who Nearest is, what his contribution was, and what it is, still that it is relative today. In 2013, the governor of Tennessee signed into law that every whiskey designed to be Tennessee whiskey not only has to meet the criteria for bourbon, but it has to be made in Tennessee and it has to adhere to the Lincoln County process, the process that Nearest Green helped perfect in 1856.
Isn't that something?
It's amazing that after all those years, he wasn't forgotten. And now with the launch of Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey, we are just driving home his legacy. We are just spreading the gospel of Nearest Green all these years later.
Mm. No, I think that's super amazing. And not only that, have you spread his legacy, but you all have, broke ground on a distillery and are producing whiskey in his name. And I think that's not even that's just the tipping point, right? Because you've produced it and now it's your own whiskey that people are enjoying. But that's the legacy, right? Now that's the old adage that we've heard from a variety of people, sips to lips, right? Now people can sip that story. It's not so much just hearing it anymore. They can experience what you all have created.
Absolutely. At the beginning of 2022, we started putting our own whiskey in the bottle. Mm. We are extremely proud of the legacy that we are moving forward. And of course, we're proud of the Nearest Green Distillery. It has become quite the destination place for people all across the country. Every weekend we are experiencing sold out tours. I love the diversity that comes through the door every weekend, young, old, black, white, and all in between. And one of the reasons why I love that is because that's what our team looks like. Our team is diverse and inclusive. And I think that has spilled over into the people that come to visit the distillery. Again, even for those who do not drink whiskey, the Nearest Green Distillery in Shelbyville, Tennessee is 323 acres of beautiful Tennessee land that is guided by rich history, not just whiskey, but all things Tennessee, those things that some people may not know even derived out of the state of Tennessee. And then, of course, we continue the story of Nearest Green. I think that our tour guides have been dubbed, master teachers in Tennessee history. And I love that. And those who walk away from the distillery, I think they're in awe of the beautiful landscape, of course, but also the history that they learn while there. It's something to see. It's really something to experience. The longest bar in the world is at the Nearest Green Distillery. We have already been hosting private events in there. But in March, we will open our doors to the public. And I can't wait for that. It's really going to be exciting for us to welcome in guests to Humble Baron, the longest bar in the world.
Road trip, Scott?
I'm down.
Come on. I can't wait. It would be lovely to sit at that bar and raise a glass with you guys.
Absolutely.
I don't know where Shelbyville, Tennessee is, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's south of here.
Yeah, amen.
We'll figure it out.
Where are you guys, by the way?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, shoot. You're just 3 hours up the highway.
Oh, so Shelbyville's right outside of Nashville then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm in Louisville a lot, by the way.
That just means next time you're in town, you need to let us know so we can treat you to a glass.
That would be great. I'll be there the first weekend in March. I don't know what I'm doing, how much time Richie has blocked out for me, but I know I'll be there the first weekend in March.
Well, let's make something happen. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And then I'll be back for Derby.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Mint juleps with Uncle Nearest. How about that, Scott?
There you go. I think one of the most interesting things about Uncle Nearest is just the fact that, and we talk about this all the time, what's the story of whiskey? I think Uncle Nearest exemplifies that, right? Since they came out, it's always been about telling the story.
Yeah.
I mean, the whiskey is the vehicle, right? But the story is what kind of drives the conversation. I think that's probably the most admirable thing that Fawn has done in telling the story of Uncle Nearest and bringing in people like you to, continue that legacy, a great grandfather. And now you're blending the whiskey. And I don't think that when Fawn called you initially that you were going to be the master blender. Was that kind of it kind of like, hey, you want to help us blend some whiskey? And then you did a damn good job. And then he's like, well, she's on to something here.
Yeah, that was not the initial idea. Fawn has been very generous and she immediately embraced Nearest's family, my family, right away, after learning more about his story. And she had several initiatives already in the works when I joined the team in 2019. And one of those things that she had launched, one of those initiatives rather that she had launched was the Nearest Green Foundation. And that foundation was put into place to support Nearest's bloodline college-age descendants who had a desire to continue their education. That's the foundation pays for full tuition, any fees related to classes, and books. And so when I joined the team, one of my primary duties was as director of administration over the Nearest Green Foundation. Now, I still am the director of administration for the foundation, but a little less than 60 days being on the team, Fawn asked me to blend our first batch of 1884. Now, the thought behind that was twofold. We needed to add another expression to our line, and Fawn wanted to ensure that Nearest's family had some input into the whiskey. And the thought was that one of Nearest's descendants would be in the room and have some input into the final decision of what was to go in the bottle of the 1884. But after I blended that first batch, or during the course of blending the first batch, Fawn says that she saw something she wasn't expecting. And when the 1884 launched in July of 2019, right out the gate, we started winning awards with it. Huge awards, best in class, double gold. And so she asked me to blend it again. And I blended the second batch, and the awards and the accolades, they kept coming. And the 1884 was quickly becoming the favorite with our whiskey family. And so by late October, I think, I was elevated to Master Blender. And since then, I have been named Master Blender of the Year 4 times over. So Fawn saw something that I was unaware of. Naturally, going into that first blending session, I was extremely nervous. I hadn't done anything like that. Hadn't even considered doing anything like that. But now I cannot imagine doing anything else.
Yeah. And it all started with a yes, right? Like going back to what you originally said, it all started with one yes.
It all started with the yes.
And so I think it's really cool. And I want to take a quick second before we dive into the 1884, because we have it in front of us today. You know, what we have not talked about is your whiskey journey yourself, right? You might have had relationship to Nearest along the way, and you knew that in that lineage, but was whiskey a part of just your relationship with spirits growing up, or was this kind of something that you just kind of backed into a little bit?
Well, it wasn't part of me, of who I was growing up, other than just family members that worked at Jack Daniel's Distillery. But I didn't drink it. I didn't drink whiskey. My grandmother was a teetotaler, and I spent most of my days with her. My mom actually is a teetotaler as well. And so we didn't do a lot of drinking. But when I got to college, my landscape changed, right?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Changed.
Just a little bit.
And beer was my go-to, and I still enjoy a cold beer. But later in life is when I was introduced to bourbon. And once introduced to it, that was all I desired. And so I don't know why I didn't taste it sooner or try it sooner. But once I did, I never turned back. And that was before, of course, Uncle Nearest was launched. And so while I had never considered bourbon or whiskey blending, it is what I was drinking. And it has been my go-to spirit for years.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Like, people don't always put into like context how the individual who's creating the whiskey or crafting the blend that you're drinking came into their revelation of that was their spirit of choice. And I think it's really cool, like that it just, your horizons expanded. And as your horizon expanded, you were opened up to the opportunity to try unique distillates. And that gave you a palate. And we were talking about this with Peggy No Stevens just last night.
Isn't she wonderful?
She is. But scientifically, you're the person we want crafting whiskey, because females are better tasters and better sniffers of whiskey than men. And like, that's what's exciting, is that you're in this position to blend whiskey in an artist, like in an artisanal way. And your senses are so refined because of your experiences and your aromas that you've collected over the years. And I think that's what, now as you enter your second career in life, has made you so successful. So I just want to say, thank you for just saying yes so frequently to get us here to enjoy good whiskey.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. As I said earlier, it has been the most awesome journey that I wasn't expecting. This second chapter of life has been so rewarding. And I always have to give credit where credit is due. I'm grateful for my lineage, but I'm also grateful for Fawn Weaver, for her curiosity about who Nearest Green was, and for her continuous drive and for her vision. I'm grateful for that, for her leadership, and for her letting the team kind of blossom and grow in their own way. We have one hell of a team. We really do. The people that are out in the field every day, our sales team, they are talented and they are dynamic and they're driven, and it's all about Nearest. And I just love that. I love that Fawn had the foresight to put the right person in the right position and then let them grow organically at their own pace and in their own way. I think that has been so beneficial to us being successful. Is it starts at the top. The woman is genius.
Amen to that. It sure seems like it. And, we're super excited to now experience, some of that whiskey and that conversation that has, been brought to life over the last several years with this 1884. And I always like to defer to Scott on whiskey tasting to kick us off here. So Scott, what are your thoughts here as we kind of open up the tasting for this one before we get into the innovative side that Victoria has taken Nearest on? We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's start with this flagship that's won all the awards.
Well, I know we're not a video podcast, but if you could see in the video here, the bottle's about half empty because once I opened it, it just kind of stayed on the bar, and it's a very drinkable whiskey, and at 93 proof. It's one I just kept finding myself going back to just to kind of taste and see how it developed. And I've shared it a few times over the holidays and things like that. So for 93 proof, drinks like one of the thickest whiskeys I've ever had. It's just so viscous, rich, full of flavor. But then it gets this, it's super like bready, doughy, like almost like graham cracker crust. Like it's super savory for me.
I've landed on my note that I was looking for earlier. It's like key lime pie with like a little mango. Like that's the nose to me. It's got so many tropical fruity notes that just lend to freshness. And then as it goes through the palate, like this dark chocolate, almost slight bitter note shows up with brown sugar. Like that's just how it finishes for me. And it's just so easy. And I poured an ounce and I was like, man, that went down really smooth. Then I poured another ounce, that went down really smooth. So Scott, like I can see why you crushed this. And like I remember when I opened up just the first bottle of Nearest I had, which was the 1856, like that bottle went down really quick too, because it's just good whiskey. But this, I think, is on a whole nother level from the 1856. I think this could be the bottle of whiskey I keep upstairs in the summer, in the spring, and make a nice highball out of it even too, because you can really enjoy it with just some fresh bubbles and enjoy it by the pool because it's got so much tropical flavor, but it gives you that like sweetness on the back end. So it's a beautiful whiskey, to be honest. And people poo-poo on lower proof whiskey, but man, this is awesome. Like Scott said, from the viscosity perspective at 93 proof, like amazing.
Thank you. You mentioned highball. That is one of my favorites. It has become one of my favorites. People ask me all the time how I like to drink my whiskey. Kind of depends on the atmosphere and the people that I'm with. I drink it all kinds of ways. I love it neat, but I like a good cocktail, and the highball is one that you can truly continue to taste the whiskey. And so I love a good highball. In fact, I hadn't had a highball until I joined the Uncle Near's team. And so now, it's easy one to make at home. It's club soda or some bubbly and an orange slice or even a lemon or lime slice. And it doesn't detract from the whiskey. And I love that about a highball.
I mean, I think it's if you're not doing those in the summer, you're missing out, because people are like,
absolutely.
They're like,
absolutely.
Whiskey's not a summer drink. And I'm like, yes, it is. You're not doing it right.
You just gotta add some bubbles.
It is. I agree. It is definitely a summer drink, and it's delicious.
Yeah. I'm a big Fresca fan. So like, I like the Fresca, so I don't have to garnish anything. It's got a little bit of lemon in it, and like just like an ounce or two of Fresca, a lot of ice in a tall glass or a Yeti tumbler, and like two ounces of my favorite whiskey for the summer, and I'm good to go. I'll sit by the pool and just relax. And like, that's my go-to.
I'm going to try that. I love Fresca. I've always liked Fresca, but I never thought to put a splash in my whiskey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey.
I'll definitely give that a try. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So and I think it would be wonderful with the tropical notes that is this whiskey, and then giving you that dessert flavor. Like, and a highball is so good because it's a good, like, day if you want to just have a few by the pool and just relax and call it a day. But it's also a classy one at a nice steak dinner, because as I've sat down and ate a lot with just people that know more about just palate cleansing, pretty regularly, if you're going to a high-end dinner, they start with bubbles. Yes. But if you're a whiskey fan and you may not be a champagne or a rosé or any of those types of fan, you could start with a nice whiskey highball to reset your palate, get ready for the different food flavors. And I'm sure you didn't think this was going to be like a culinary conversation, but as Scott knows, I turn everything into a culinary conversation.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's just a great way to reset your palate. So, here, that's my tip of the day is drink a highball, not only in summer, but if you want to reset your palate and you don't like champagne.
That is good to know. I've learned something today.
Oh
yeah, I've learned something today, and I don't even have to change up anything to try it.
No, you just go to your fridge normally, and just you probably have carbonated water, or you have a Fresca.
The easiest cocktail alive, right?
Oh my gosh. And there's a reason why, like, I think America's missed out. Like in Japan, they have highball bars, like where all you do is just have a variety of different seltzers, different flavors, and they put Japanese whiskey or Scotch whiskey, and they make highballs, and it's highball bars.
Well, I'm excited. I'm going to Japan later this year. I hope that Catherine Jerkins and I have an opportunity to go to one of those highball bars. That would be fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
Japan is on the bucket list of places that I need to visit.
Yeah, I'm excited. I had the opportunity to go to the UK last year, and it was really exciting. And we had planned to go to Japan, and it didn't happen last year, but it's on the calendar for this year, along with going back to the UK.
Hey, that's super exciting. And seeing the world is amazing, because whiskey is such a world spirit, right? It's not just a bourbon and Tennessee whiskey. I'll classify you all down there are native spirits to the States, but world whiskey is a ton of fun.
Absolutely, I agree.
And speaking of world whiskey, right? You all have partnered up to collect some whiskey from somewhere in the north to produce your newest innovation, I would say, right? And that would be your rye whiskey at 100 proof. And there's two versions of this. Scott is more in tune with what's happening there. But can you tell us a little bit about that next innovation that you all have created in the Uncle Nearest lineup?
Yeah, I guess it's been a couple of months now, maybe a month and a half. We introduced our rye, the Uncle Nearest rye. And the first extension that we added was the uncut, unfiltered rye. I think it is absolutely phenomenal. If you hadn't read about it, it derived from an experiment in Canada, but it was done with American specs. And so once that Fawn knew about it and tasted it, and when we tried it, we bought everything they had. And the rye goes from Canada to New York, where it ages there for, I think it's 5 years. And then it is sent to the nearest green distillery where we rebarrel it in our barrels and before it goes to the bottle. So we're extremely proud of it. Even for those who say they are not rye drinkers, we have gotten some really good feedback from them. In fact, Fawn is not particularly fond of rye.
I see what you did there. That was a pun.
Yeah. But now it has been her go-to. So the rye that we have in our bottle, it is special. I think it is a great balance between the sweetness and the spice that you find in rye. It's phenomenal. It makes one hell of an old-fashioned. It's good. It's really, really good. Now, the three expressions that we have are the unfiltered, uncut, the 100 proof straight rye, and then our single barrel rye.
So
okay, so now we know it's been double barreled.
Yeah,
it has.
Okay, so that explains. I mean, just tasting it, that explains a lot, because there's a lot of like wood sugar that comes through.
Yes.
So the double barreling gives this thing a lot of extra flavors, because when Scott kind of told me it was coming from our neighbors up north, I was like, okay, cream of wheat is kind of the note that I always get. Cinnamon, sugar, cream of wheat. And people look at me crazy. For the South, if you don't use cream of wheat, grits with butter and sugar and cinnamon. Okay. We've now covered what cream of wheat is for people in the South.
Right.
So that's what I was expecting. But on this, it's kind of funky in a way of, it's not the notes you would expect from Canadian rye whiskey at all. It's chocolatey and cinnamony, but it's also like got some fruit notes. It's really, really kind of all over the place, because it's getting a secondary finish and kind of balancing out the strong, like cereal grain characteristics that Canadian rye normally has.
But isn't it just like us to do something different?
Yeah. Why not?
Just like the label, rye is known for having a green label on it. Ours is blue. Fawn wanted to do something different, and our rye definitely is different. But I think it kind of go along with the other expressions that we already had out in the market. Our whiskey is exceptional. This rye is different and exceptional.
Well, I know Scott's not a rye drinker, but I think this is up Scott's alley, personally.
Is it up your alley, Scott?
I'm really enjoying it. There's one note that keeps popping up to me, and it's blackberries. Like it has this deep, like stewed blackberry note. So it's like brown sugar.
Yes.
Like almost like blackberry cobbler or something like that.
You kind of like that, huh?
I do
I do
and
too.
I'm not typical, kind of like Fawn. I'm not typically a rye whiskey drinker. Like I don't like the grassy notes, but that's not really present here.
No, I think the beautiful balance of our rye is what is making people be drawn to it, because it's not so heavy on the spice and the earthiness that is often present in rye. It's just got a beautiful balance of the sweetness and the spice that are very complementary to one another.
Yeah. I love rye, all forms of rye whiskey. And this leans into that barrel seagrass category for me. Super fruit forward, a little peachy kind of notes in there as well. So you're getting those stone fruits with a lot of high sugar that, like, it's almost compote-y. And that it then finishes with this milk chocolate kind of note. And that's what I've found with both of these whiskeys is one in the 1884, a little bitter, dark chocolate, more notes, and then the rye more of a milk chocolate, silky note. So whatever's happening in that barrel, and however you're producing your barrel, is leaning towards that production finish of some type of coca note that is either bitter in one but more silky and smooth in the other.
And I love that you picked all of that up, that regardless of which expression of Uncle Nearest you pick up, the 1884, the 56, or our rye, they all have a consistent kind of finish. They're kind of long and strong, but not pungent. One has a little bit more of a bacon spices. The other has a little bit more of the stone fruit and sweetness on the finish. But you can tell that it's Uncle Nearest product.
Yeah, and I think this is like an ode to old school whiskey. So like if you pick up a dusty whiskey isn't a burn, because most dusty whiskey was between 180 and 100 proof. Mm-hmm. But it lingers on the palate forever. These whiskeys linger on the palate, not in your chest. So it's not a Kentucky hug or a Tennessee hug. It is, just a warm handshake on your palate. And like,
I think it kind of begs you to drink more.
Exactly. And it's mouth watering.
You want to know what the next taste is. And it kind of beckons you to have another sip.
But, I think going back to that finish, right? Like it's so unique. It is, you can tell it is a Nearest product. And I think that has to do with blending too. So, I think the big question I have for you and that last question is, what's your approach to blending? We've asked a variety of people that question, and we've blended our own whiskey that we've done as a single barrel with another company, and it's hard. Blending is not easy. So like, what's your approach to, putting barrels back and blending them together to make up what you all have created in your all's barrels and bottles?
My approach is pretty much the same as it was the very first day. It's to continue to deliver a premium product in every bottle that goes out of our distillery. Nearest Green, Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey was just that before I came along. It was already premium. And so my job is to ensure that everything that moves forward maintains that premium consistency. One of the unique things that I didn't know was unique is I don't eat or drink before I blend. I don't drink water or anything else while I'm blending. And I blend at cask strength, at barrel proof. So I understand now that that's kind of unique to our distillery. I think others have adopted that now that I've been doing it. But those are, a few of the things that drive me to do what I do in regards to the blending.
No, I love the fact that you're doing it at barrel proof, because most people proof down to 80, and that's where they
we don't do that. There is very little water in our whiskey anyway. And so proofing it down would kind of defeat the purpose of what we're trying to achieve. So it is blended at barrel proof, then proofed down to 93, then bottled.
And have you all released single barrels of 1884?
We have not, but we do have a single barrel black. And from what I've heard from those who have reached into me, DM me, private message me, it is reminiscent of our 1820. I don't know if you guys ever had the opportunity to taste 1820. It is a single barrel. It's 11 years old. And they tell me that they have been enjoying our single barrel black label just as much as our 1820. And so the 1820 is around 5 years old. And it is, of course, barrel strength, but it's one single barrel per each batch, so to speak. And all of them are different in their own right because, it's the barrels cause the whiskey to react and taste differently, each one. But we haven't altered it. Not one single barrel we altered. I just picked those that are absolutely delicious, and those are the ones we roll with and bottle.
But that's awesome that y'all are doing some interesting things, in your blending process that are different and unique and distinct. Because I feel like that's who this company is, because that's who Nearest was, right? Like from all we've heard, like that's who he was as he created whiskey with Jack Daniel.
Yes, we try very hard to mirror what Nearest Green did all those years ago. If not mirror, we try really hard to honor the way in which he did it and deliver a premium product like he did. He was known to be the best whiskey maker around. That is written in Jack's biography by Ben Green. And so we want to maintain that consistency of doing what he did all those years ago in delivering a premium whiskey to the whiskey community.
That's awesome. Well, I think this brand is in great hands.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That is clear. I mean, just the explosive growth that this brand has seen. If you've not seen Uncle Nearest on a shelf or on a bar back, you're just not looking, because we're talking 5-6 years. I mean, it's a relatively new brand, but it is well distributed. I mean, nationally and globally. So if you don't see Uncle Nearest on your shelf, I don't know what liquor store you're sitting in, but you're just not looking. So,
and if you don't see it and you are looking, you need to ask for it. There's no reason why you shouldn't have it if you desire it. We're in all 50 states, 12 countries, and soon to be adding the Caribbean to that this year. So yeah, we're worldwide, international. We're doing it all. So as Scott said, if you don't see it, you should. And if you're looking for it and can't find it, there's no harm in asking your local liquor store or your restaurant that you frequent. Ask them for it.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to come on. We truly appreciate it. And we're super excited to see you all continue to grow and expand from your perspective, but also from Uncle Nearest's perspective as you all continue to keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of the story and to just have a conversation with y'all this afternoon. It's been great. And I look forward to meeting y'all face to face and raising a glass with you. Look, in the heart of bourbon country, which most people call Kentucky.
No, it's been a ton of fun. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope to see you guys real soon.
We'll see you soon. Good. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. We truly appreciate Victoria for joining us today. And as always, if you want to know more about Uncle Nearest, just search Uncle Nearest on your favorite search engine or on your favorite social media app. If you want to know more about Bourbon Lens, you can go over to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bourbon Lens. And last but not least, please go give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast listening app. We truly appreciate it. And if you feel so inclined, leave a review. That always helps Scott and I know what we're doing so we can improve. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.